we pretty much finished off the last half when we had a look at the difference between a financial advisor and a financial planner. You put the broad definition around it. So one's product focused and one's perhaps more an advice focused. Now, Natasha, from your point of view, I know you call yourself a financial planner, and if I know you well enough, you stand by that. But at the end of the day, sometimes all it is that I do need is bond cover. Can I still come to you?
Most definitely, because that might be the first step in your financial journey to your own financial independence. Depends on where you are in life, and you might have identified the one need that you can see right now, but you are just looking at your situation with focusing on this one situation. Looking at the broader picture of where you are at and the income you're earning, do you have a budget? That's all part of financial advice. So you might start off with a single need and then take it further to incorporate into a full financial plan that helps you along the way to your financial independence.
Okay, so I mean, at the end of the day, and perhaps if I do have that plan already in place, I could easily execute those different products and solutions, because at the end of the day, quite often, the end of a financial planning process is that it results in some type of product.
That ultimately, the financial products are usually the effective means to give the solution or give the force to the financial plan itself. Some aspects of the plan are within the control of the person, such as doing your own budget, not spending on irrelevant factors, saving for retirement. But ultimately, financial products, insurance or investment products are there to help you channel your money into the right kind of products to prevent the risks and fulfill your financial goals. Okay.
We spoke briefly on the titles that one would go by, but of course there's different areas that one would find a broker or a planner or advisor. Could you give us a bit of a lie of the land of where one would go about finding the different types? And I'm thinking especially from a bank perspective or an independent. I mean, what is the general landscape out there?
Well, you've got your independent advisors that can be working for a smaller business or a brokerage, where they're not tied to any specific insurance company or product provider. You've got your banks that provide financial planning services, and then you've got your big insurance companies that's got what you call the tied agents that will normally only provide products for that insurance company.
Okay. Paul, pros and cons?
The differences between an agent or an independent broker are not that easy to articulate. Usually the financial planning profession would like to see itself as someone or something that revolves around the process of financial planning, not always about the driving of a financial product or the sale of a financial product. Generally with an agent who will represent an insurer, the tendency is to view those as insurance salesmen, and independents as people who are more selective in about the advice or products they can give you. However, that itself could be a misnomer. The important thing is that the financial planner that you are dealing with, whether an agent or an independent broker, has a process that he follows in terms of recommending a product and the written regulation and formalization of that agreement. There's not specifically an advantage or a disadvantage to going with an agent or a plan, aside from the choice of financial products. And if that is something that's important to you, then an independent is. But if you're looking at the process and the ability of a planner to connect with you and your goals, that relationship is more important than any particular product you could select.
So at the end of the day, I could go and fetch and find a CFP within any of the institutions and hopefully be guaranteed of the same type of process and perhaps to a certain degree advice philosophy as well.
Ideally, it would depend. Obviously, each person will have their own philosophy, and every company would have their own philosophy that they follow.
Okay. Let's talk money. All right. We constantly sort of are conscious of commissions and fees and how one gets remunerated. I mean, at the end of the day, the industry's been brought under the limelight a huge amount in the last sort of 5 to 10 years when it comes to costs. Let's have a brief discussion on the fee type thing. Natasha, I know you are fee-based predominantly. Tell us what that means.
Well, I think one needs to distinguish first of all, and I always have this discussion up front with my clients or prospective clients, is you are paying for a service. And you must first see the value in the service and understand what you're paying for. Now, traditionally, there are a few ways that you can distinguish between the remuneration a planner receives. A planner can ask an hourly rate for services rendered. A planner can ask a fee based on the amount of funds, value of funds invested upfront, and then an ongoing management fee. And then there's your more traditional commissions that can be on investment and then on your risk products, life policies, disability policies, and that way the planner earns a commission for those selling those products. Now, it's not to say that any one of these are right or wrong, but are they appropriate for the client, and have they been fully disclosed to the client, and does the client understand what he's paying for? It's very important upfront and ongoing. So when you're going through the process, make sure you have a service level agreement with your financial planner, that you know what to expect and that there are measurables that it's been delivered or not. Then the fee becomes, I've paid the fee, I've received the service, versus I don't know what's going on.
But I mean, certainly we see it time and time again, the prospect of free advice. Your thoughts?
I think the important thing that Natasha mentioned, that the client must understand what they're paying for, and what they should be paying for is the advice, which is the knowledge, the skill of the financial advisor, and the experience they develop to be able to give that advice. Right? In terms of commission itself, or one particular type of fee, it has the most dangerous element of that it has elements of conflict of interest, in that money is earned is only when a product is sold, and there could be a tendency to develop for advice to lead towards the product of the sale, and not to be independent and not biased to a particular product sale. So while there's no one right way of remuneration of planners, or one suggested way that any institute may offer, it depends on what's right for the client, and importantly, as Natasha mentioned, it must be disclosed in writing and in full, all the nature of the fees that both the client has to pay out and that the advisor or the company is receiving.
So I mean, in a nutshell, it doesn't matter where that money is actually coming from, whether it is a fee paid by check or whether it's something facilitated through an investment product or even a commission, as long as it's understood what's being paid and the services and value that's being given for that.
Yes.
Is that
I think it's one of the most challenging things of the modern financial planning profession, is to find the right expression of how financial planners should be paid. And the aspect of the professionalization of our industry compared to lawyers or doctors to only work on a fee base is not viable for every planner and every client. The industry as well as clients have to come to a discussion as to what's the most suitable way to be paid, and that a client will receive value for money for those services.
And understand what they're paying for.
Yes. And I think often with life policies, for example, depending on the size of the life policy, will generate a different amount of commission, whereby the actual work that's been undertaken is no different for the size of commission earned. So generally, commissions or fees should reflect the amount of skill and expertise and time taken to deal with that client.
Okay, so it's got to match up to the work that's been done on the services.
Compared to the once-off regulated commissions that product providers currently pay.
And I think the big danger, and we've seen it time and time again, especially from a commission point of view, if I was to come and advise you, I could give you the best advice in the world, I could pay very handsomely for it, but if my business model doesn't allow me to look after you, then there's going to be a disconnect. You're going to come down a year, 2 years down the line and say, you need to look after me. And I'm saying, but I'm not getting paid to look after you anymore. So there's definitely that ongoing
And the biggest
element,
risk that I think is prevalent in our industry and has led to lots of legislation changes is the replacing of products, which unsuitable advice to replace a product purely to generate commission, not because it's in the interest of the client.
Yeah, something that continues to plague us. Let's talk specialist versus generalist. We know it's a minefield out there, and there's certain varying disciplines that one would sort of put out to say, well, I specialize in this area, or I specialize in no area, I'll give you holistic advice. What are your thoughts?
I think the best way to explain it is to compare it to the medical practice, where you'll go to your general practitioner if you're not feeling well. He has a full understanding of the medical situation, and if the need arises, will refer you to the correct specialist. Now, when we're looking at financial planning and we're moving towards this holistic financial planning to have a plan that will carry you through to your eventual goal of financial independence, your planner should be a generalist that can assist with all the elements of your financial plan. But that doesn't mean that he or she can do everything for you. He or she might identify areas where an expert needs to be involved. A good example of that is drafting of a will. Financial planner might not be the right person to draft the will. Could do the estate planning for the client and then bring in the lawyer to draft the will. Or some tax structuring where you then need to bring in the auditor for the client to do that.
Okay, Paul, I see you nodding your head. I mean, do you agree with that?
Completely. The financial planning body of knowledge, in terms of either the CFP certification exam or the postgraduate diploma or education, is very broad and wide, and it's got accounting concepts, legal concepts, financial concepts. And for any one person to say that they are an expert in all of those fields is simply not possible. A person may have an awareness and fundamental competency in those fields, but ultimately everybody at some point will have to have a team of professionals and experts in specific fields they can call on to help advise their clients
So one would envisage a type of sort of conductor in a sense. We're going to help sort of find how this all hangs together, and then where necessary and if necessary, we'll pull on the specialists like you.
And the role of the generalist is not only just to let the specialist give their advice, but to select the right kind of specialist, make sure that the specialist is giving the best advice as well. So it's a double check and a safety valve for all the different parts of the process.
Okay. Perhaps the last sort of question or topic on the agenda is really around, at the end of the day, I can go and I can search on the FSB website, I can look at the different finder and advisor type websites, I can even look at the specific websites of those individuals. At some point, I'm going to have to sit in front of that person and feel comfortable with them. I mean, is that the general practice that you have as well?
Most definitely, and the ideal is that you have a long-term relationship with your financial planner, because by having a long-term plan where you're sticking to the original strategy, you as the client will benefit from the end result. The worst thing you can do is by changing every now and then, chasing returns, chasing the next best thing in the market. So it is a matter of trust. I think you can go as far as to say gut feel. If you feel comfortable with the person, the other elements must be there. There must be a process, there must be a structure, there must be compliance. But generally those things are there. So it's a person that you can have a long-term relationship with. You as the client must take ownership of your financial plan. So it's up to the client to ask the difficult questions. Make sure you understand the advice. If you don't understand, ask the questions until you understand. And then you've got a relationship or a partnership where you can walk the long term. Saying that, one must take it a step further. You trust your financial advisor, but it's advisable that there is a bigger business behind the advisor, so that there is continuity if the advisor is not there anymore suddenly or gets to retirement, so that your plan can stay on track regardless of where the advisor is.